Hey guys, welcome to Medifaction. Today we will learn about the anatomy of larynx. The larynx, or commonly called as the voice box, is an organ in the top of the neck involved in breathing, producing sounds, and protecting the trachea against food aspiration. So, to learn more about larynx, let's begin. In this video, I will be enumerating an introduction, situation, extent, and size of larynx, followed by the cartilages of larynx, histology, laryngeal joints, ligaments and membranes, cavity of larynx, mucous membrane of larynx, also the nerve supply, blood supply, and lymphatics. And we are going to finally end this session with some important clinical anatomy. Introduction. The larynx is the organ for production of voice or phonation. It is also an air passage and acts as a sphincter at the inlet of the lower respiratory passages. Larynx or voice box is well developed in humans. Its capabilities are greatly enhanced by the large vocalization area in the lower part of motor cortex. Situation and extent. The larynx lies in the anterior midline of the neck, extending from the root of the tongue, right here, till the trachea. In the adult male, it lies in front of the third to sixth cervical vertebra, but in children and in adult female, it lies at a little higher level, that is, at C1 to C4 level. Size. The length of the larynx is 44 mm in males and 36 mm in females. At puberty, the male larynx grows rapidly and becomes larger, seen as a prominent angle of thyroid cartilage, known as Adam's apple, which makes his voice louder and low-pitched. The pubertal growth of the female larynx is negligible, and her voice is high-pitched. Internal diameter up to 3 years, it is 3 mm, and adult, it is 12 mm. Cartilages of larynx. The larynx consists of 9 cartilages, of which 3 are unpaired and 3 are paired. The unpaired cartilages are the thyroid cartilage, the cricoid cartilage, the epiglottis, and the paired cartilages are the arytenoid cartilage, the corniculate cartilage, and the cuneiform cartilage. Now let's learn in detail about each of these cartilages. First, let's move on to the thyroid cartilage. This cartilage is V-shaped in cross-section. It consists of right and left laminae. Each laminae is roughly quadrilateral. The laminae are placed obliquely relative to the midline. Their posterior borders are far apart, but the anterior borders approach each other at an angle that is about 90 degrees in males and about 120 degrees in the female. The lower parts of the anterior border of the right and left laminae fuse and form a median projection called the laryngeal prominence. The upper parts of the anterior borders do not meet. They are separated by the thyroid notch. The posterior borders are free. They are prolonged upwards and downwards as the superior and inferior conua or horns. The superior conua is connected with the greater conua of the hyoid bone by the lateral thyrohyoid ligament. This is the thyrohyoid bone, and the lateral hyoid ligament comes here. The inferior conova articulates with the cricoid cartilage, which is this one right here, to form the cricothyroid joint. The inferior border of the thyroid cartilage is right here. It is convex in front and concave behind. In the median plane, it is connected to cricoid cartilage right here by the conus elasticus. The outer surface of each lamina is marked by an oblique line which extends from the superior thyroid. So this is the laryngeal prominence or Adam's apple, which I told before. The outer surface of each lamina is marked by an oblique line which extends from the superior thyroid tubercle in front of the root of superior conova to the inferior thyroid tubercle behind the middle of inferior border. The thyrohyoid, sternothyroid, and thyropharyngeus part of inferior constrictor of pharynx are attached to the oblique line. Now let's see the attachments. Lower border and inferior conova gives insertion to triangular cricothyroid. Along the posterior border connecting superior and inferior conova are the insertion of, right here you can appreciate, number 1, the palatopharyngeus, number 2, right here is the salpingopharyngeus, and number 3 here is the stylopharyngeus muscles. On the inner aspect are attached A. Median thyroepiglottic ligament, B. Thyroepiglottic muscle on each side, C. Vestibular fold on each side, D. Vocal fold on each side, E. Thyroarytenoid on each side, F. Vocalis muscle on each side. Cricoid cartilage, right here. This is cricoid cartilage and it is shaped like a ring and is a complete cartilage. It encircles the larynx below the thyroid cartilage and forms foundation stone of larynx. It is thicker and stronger than the thyroid cartilage. The ring has a narrow anterior part called the arch and a broad posterior part called the lamina. The lamina projects upwards behind the thyroid cartilage and articulates superiorly with the arytenoid cartilage. The inferior conova of the thyroid cartilage articulates with the side of the cricoid cartilage at the junction of the arch and lamina. This was the oblique line that I told previously. And here is the median thyrohyoid ligament. This is the thyroid cartilage. This is the conus elasticus, which I told previously. And this is the cricothyroid joint. Now let's see the attachments. Anterior part of the arch of cricoid gives origin to, right here, triangular cricothyroid muscle, which is a tensor of vocal cord. The anterolateral aspect of the arch gives origin to lateral cricoarytenoid muscle, right here, which is an adductor of vocal cord. Lamina of cricoid cartilage on its outer aspects gives origin to a very important safety muscle right here known as the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. Cricothyroid and quadrate membranes are also attached. Now let's see epiglottis. or epiglottic cartilage, right here. This is a leaf-shaped cartilage placed in the anterior wall of the upper part of the larynx. Its upper end is broad and free and projects upward behind the hyoid bone and the tongue. The lower end of the thyroepiglottic ligament is pointed and is attached to the upper part of the angle between the two laminae of the thyroid cartilage. Attachments. The right and left margin of the cartilage provides attachment to aryepiglottic folds. Its anterior surface is connected as to the tongue by a median glossoepiglottic fold, and its anterior surface is connected to the hyoid bone by the thioepiglottic ligament. Now, the posterior surface is covered with mucous membrane and presents a tubercle in the lower part. Thyroepiglottic muscle, right here, is attached between thyroid cartilage and margins of epiglottis. It keeps the inlet of larynx patent for breathing. Aryepiglottic muscle closes inlet during swallowing. Moving on to arytenoid cartilage. These are two small pyramid-shaped cartilages lying on the upper border of the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. The apex of the arytenoid cartilage is curved posteromedially and articulates with the corniculate cartilage. Its base is concave and articulates with the lateral part of the upper border of the cricoid lamina. Base is prolonged anteriorly to form the vocal process and laterally to form the muscular process. The surfaces of the cartilage are anterolateral, medial, and posterior. Attachments. Vocal process. Vocal fold and vocalis muscle is attached. Above vocal process, vestibular fold is attached. Muscular process. The posterior aspect gives insertion to posterior cricoarytenoid. This is the vocal fold which I was telling, and this is the vestibular fold just above to vocal fold. It is false vocal fold and the vocal fold is called true vocal fold. Anterior aspect. It gives insertion to lateral cricoarytenoid. Posterior surface. Transverse arytenoid across the two cartilages. Now, between base and apex of the arytenoid is oblique arytenoid, which continues as aryepiglottic muscle into two sides of epiglottis. This right here is the epiglottis. Quadrangular or quadrate membrane is attached between arytenoid, epiglottis, and thyroid cartilage. This is the thyroid cartilage. This is the arytenoid cartilage, and this is the arytenoid muscle. Now let's learn about the corniculate or Santorini cartilages. Right here. So these are two small conical nodules which articulate with the apex of the arytenoid cartilages and are directed posteromedially. They lie in the posterior part of the aryepiglottic folds. Now let's learn about the cuneiform or Risberg cartilages. Right here. These are two small rod-shaped pieces of cartilage placed in the aryepiglottic fold just ventral to the corniculate cartilages. Histology of laryngeal cartilages. The thyroid, cricoid cartilages and the basal part of the arytenoid cartilages are made up of hyaline cartilage. They may ossify after the age of 25 years. The other cartilages of the larynx, example, epiglottis, corniculate, cuneiform, and processes of the arytenoid are made up of elastic cartilage and they do not ossify. Laryngeal joints. Right here you can see the cricothyroid joint. So the cricothyroid joint is a synovial joint between the inferior conova of the thyroid cartilage and the side of cricoid cartilage. It permits rotatory movements around a transverse axis passing through both cricothyroid joints, permitting tension and relaxation of vocal cords. There are some gliding movements also in different direction. The next one is the cricoarytenoid joint. So this joint is also a synovial joint between the base of the arytenoid cartilage and the upper border of the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. It permits rotatory movements around a vertical axis, permitting adduction and abduction of the vocal cords and also gliding movements in all directions. Now let's learn about the laryngeal ligaments and membranes. These are of two types, the extrinsic one and the intrinsic type. First let's learn about the extrinsic type. The thyrohyoid membrane right here connects the thyroid cartilage to the hyoid bone. Its median and lateral parts are thickened to form median and lateral thyrohyoid ligaments. This is the median thyrohyoid ligament and this one here is the lateral thyrohyoid ligament. And this membrane is pierced by the internal laryngeal nerve and by the superior laryngeal vessels. Next is the hyoepiglottic ligament. This one. It connects the upper end of the epiglottic cartilage to the hyoid bone right here. The third one is the cricotracheal ligament right here. This connects the cricoid cartilage to the upper end of the trachea. This is for a better view of the thyrohyoid ligament, median thyrohyoid ligament, lateral thyrohyoid ligament, hyoepiglottic ligament, and also the cricotracheal ligament. Intrinsic. The intrinsic ligaments are part of a broad sheet of fibroelastic tissue known as the fibroelastic membrane of the larynx. This membrane is placed just outside the mucous membrane. It is interrupted on each side by the sinus of the larynx. The part of the membrane above the sinus is known as the quadrate membrane, and the part below the sinus is called the conus elasticus. The quadrate membrane extends from the arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis. It has a lower free border which forms the vestibular fold and an upper border which forms the aryepiglottic fold. The conus elasticus or cricovocal membrane extends upwards and medially from the arch of the cricoid cartilage. The anterior part is thick and is known as the cricothyroid ligament. The free upper border of the conus elasticus forms the vocal fold. Cavity of larynx. The cavity of larynx extends from the inlet of the larynx to the lower border of the cricoid cartilage. The inlet of the larynx is placed obliquely, as you can see here. It looks backwards and upwards and opens into the laryngopharynx. The inlet is bounded anteriorly by the epiglottis right here, posteriorly by the interarytenoid fold of mucous membrane right here. Now On each side, we can appreciate it is bounded by the aryepiglottic fold right here. Internal diameter up to 3 years 3 millimeter, and every year it increases by 1 millimeter up to age of 12. Number 2. Within the cavity of larynx, there are two folds of mucous membrane on each side. The upper fold is the vestibular fold and the lower fold is the vocal fold. The space between the right and left vestibular fold is the rima vestibuli, and the space between the vocal folds is the rima glottidis. The vocal fold is attached anteriorly to the middle of the angle of the thyroid cartilage on its posterior aspect and posteriorly to the vocal process of the arytenoid cartilage. The rima glottidis is limited posteriorly by an interarytenoid fold of mucous membrane. The rima, therefore, has an anterior intermembranous part and a posterior intercartilaginous part. The rima is the narrowest part of the larynx. It is longer in males than in females. It comes about 23 mm approximately in males. Number 3. The vestibular and vocal folds divide the cavity of the larynx into three parts. A. The part above the vestibular fold. It is called the vestibule of the larynx or supraglottis. B. The part between the vestibular and vocal folds is called the sinus or ventricle of the larynx. C. The part below the vocal fold, which is called as infraglottis. The sinus of Morgagni or ventricle of the larynx is a narrow fusiform cleft between the vestibular and vocal folds. The anterior part of the sinus is prolonged upwards as a diverticulum between the vestibular fold and the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. This extension is known as the saccule of the larynx. The saccule contains mucus glands which helps to lubricate the vocal folds. It is often called oil can of larynx. Mucous membrane of larynx. Number 1. The anterior surface and upper half of the posterior surface of the epiglottis, the upper part of the aryepiglottic folds, and the vocal folds are lined by stratified squamous epithelium. The rest of the laryngeal mucous membrane is covered with the ciliated columnar epithelium. Number 2. The mucous membrane is loosely attached to the cartilages of the larynx except over the vocal ligaments and over the posterior surface of the epiglottis where it is thin and firmly adherent. Number 3. The mucous glands are absent over the vocal cords but are plentiful over the anterior surface of the epiglottis, around the cuneiform cartilages, and in the vestibular folds. The glands are scattered over the rest of the larynx. Now let's see the arterial supply and venous drainage. Up to the vocal folds, it is supplied by the superior laryngeal artery right here, which is a branch of superior thyroid artery. The superior laryngeal vein drains into the superior thyroid vein as well. Below the vocal folds, it is supplied by the inferior laryngeal artery right here, which is a branch of the inferior thyroid artery. The inferior laryngeal vein drains into inferior thyroid vein. Nerve supply. Motor nerves. Recurrent laryngeal nerve supplies posterior cricoarytenoid, lateral cricoarytenoid, transverse and oblique arytenoid, aryepiglottic, thyroarytenoid, thyroepiglottic muscles. So this is the recurrent laryngeal nerve. It supplies all intrinsic muscles except cricothyroid. External laryngeal nerve only supplies cricothyroid muscle. This is the external laryngeal nerve. Sensory nerves. The internal laryngeal nerve supplies the mucous membrane up to the level of the vocal folds. This is the internal laryngeal nerve. The recurrent laryngeal nerve supplies it below the level of the vocal folds. Lymphatic drainage. Lymphatics from the part above the vocal fold drain into the superior thyroid vessels to the anterosuperior group of deep cervical nodes by piercing thyrohyoid membrane. Those from the part below the vocal folds drain to the postero-inferior group of deep cervical nodes. A few of them drain into the pre-laryngeal nodes by piercing cricothyroid. True vocal folds, that is, glottis, acts as watershed for lymphatics. It has no lymphatics. Carcinoma of glottis carries best prognosis. Now let's see some clinical anatomy. Number 1. The larynx can be examined either directly through a laryngoscope, that is direct laryngoscopy, or indirectly through a laryngeal mirror, that is indirect laryngoscopy. This is a laryngoscope and this is larynx. This is how it's done. By laryngoscopy, one can inspect the base of the tongue, the valleculae, the epiglottis, the aryepiglottic folds, the pyriform fossae, the vestibular fold, and the vocal folds. Tumors of the vocal cords can be diagnosed early because there are changes in the voice. Tumors in subglottic area present late, so are diagnosed late and have poor prognosis. Laryngotomy. The needle is inserted in the midline of the cricothyroid membrane below the thyroid prominence. This is done as an emergency procedure. Tracheostomy is a permanent procedure. Part of second to fourth rings of trachea are removed after incising the isthmus of the thyroid gland. If the patient is unconscious, one must always remember the ABC, which is airway, breathing, and circulation in that order. For the patency of airway, pull the tongue out and also endotracheal tube needs to be passed. The tube should be passed between the right and left vocal cords down to the trachea. Hope you have understood the video. Like, subscribe and press the bell button for more videos. Thank you. Thanks for watching.